Have you ever met someone who's very busy at work, but very empty inside? They wake up early, rush to work, work long hours, chase deadlines, earn money, and yet at night, they feel something is missing. They've grown in their career, but not in their character. They've achieved titles, but lost their smiles. And that's the problem today. People work harder on their job than they do on themselves. You see, most people in today's world are obsessed with growing their careers, climbing ladders, and chasing titles, yet very few are committed to growing themselves. We live in a time when everyone wants to be seen as successful, but very few people are working on becoming successful from within. True growth, my friends, doesn't begin in your office. It begins inside your mind and heart. It begins when you decide to become a better human being, not just a better employee. You can spend years improving your resume, collecting certificates, or polishing your LinkedIn profile, but none of that truly matters if you haven't improved your inner world. Because your job can give you a position, but your inner growth gives you peace. Your job can give you recognition, but your self-awareness gives you direction. So, before you chase growth outside, pause and ask yourself, am I growing inside? Let me share something simple. Imagine a seed. When you plant it in the soil, it doesn't immediately turn into a tree. It silently grows roots first. Those roots are invisible, but they are essential. They give strength, stability, and nourishment to the tree before it rises above the ground. The world only sees the tree, the tall, green branches, but what keeps it strong are the roots that nobody notices. In the same way, your skills, your job, your career, they're like the branches of the tree. But your character, your mindset, your values, they are the roots. If your roots are weak, even a small storm can knock you down. But if your roots are deep, no storm can break you. So many people work tirelessly to build their branches. They want promotions, praise, and prestige. But they ignore their roots. They forget that it's who they are, not what they do, that determines how long their success will last. A strong tree doesn't fear the wind, and a strong person doesn't fear failure, because both are deeply rooted. Growth begins with you when you start upgrading your thoughts. You can buy the latest phone, wear the most stylish clothes, drive the newest car, but what's the use if your thinking is outdated? When was the last time you upgraded your mindset? We upgrade our devices every year, but we rarely upgrade our perspective. That's where most people go wrong. Real progress is not when you move from one job to another. It's when you move from one level of understanding to another. A man who learns every day, even if just a little, will always stay ahead of a man who works mechanically without reflection, because the first one is not just collecting experiences, he is extracting lessons. Every situation, good or bad, is a classroom if you choose to learn. Every failure is a teacher if you choose to listen. Growth doesn't come from the comfort of success. It comes from the discomfort of reflection. When you ask yourself, what can I learn from this? You start growing faster than ever before. There's a beautiful truth. You can't control how fast the world changes, but you can control how well you adapt. The secret to staying relevant in life is not by working harder on your job alone, but by working smarter on yourself. The world around you evolves, And if you don't evolve with it, you'll become outdated, not because you lack skill, but because you lack growth from within. Many people think working on themselves means learning new professional skills, but it's much deeper. It means improving your patience, mastering your emotions, sharpening your focus, and expanding your empathy. It means learning to respond with calmness when life provokes you. It means learning to appreciate small joys when life feels overwhelming. When you grow in these ways, you don't just become a better professional, you become a better person, and that automatically enhances everything you do. The mind is like a garden. If you don't intentionally plant good seeds, positivity, discipline, gratitude, then weeds of negativity and laziness will grow naturally. The more you cultivate your thoughts with awareness, the more peaceful and productive your life becomes. People spend so much time taking care of their homes, their clothes, their bodies, but they neglect their inner world. Yet, that inner world is the foundation of everything else. When you begin to work on yourself, you start noticing changes everywhere. Your communication improves, your confidence grows, your reactions soften, your clarity strengthens. You start seeing problems not as obstacles, but as opportunities to grow. Even your relationships start improving because people feel the change in your energy. You begin to inspire others not through your words, but through your presence. It's not about being perfect. It's about being better than you were yesterday. You don't have to transform your life overnight. Just start by improving small habits. Read something uplifting for 10 minutes a day. Practice gratitude before you sleep. Spend time in silence each morning to listen to your thoughts. These small acts may look simple, but they slowly shape your mindset into one of strength and serenity. And when challenges come, because they always will, the person who has worked on themselves from within will stand calm, composed, and courageous. They won't panic because they've built resilience. They won't complain because they've learned acceptance. They won't give up because they've developed inner faith. Remember this, my friend. Your job may change, your company may change, even your circumstances may change, but who you become is something that stays with you forever. Invest in that. Build that. Because when you grow from within, success outside will naturally follow you. So don't just aim to make your career better. Aim to make yourself better. Improve your thoughts, strengthen your character, polish your kindness, and deepen your wisdom. Because at the end of the day, growth doesn't begin with what you do. It begins with who you are. And when you grow, everything else grows with you. A man once told me, Swamiji, I'm tired of improving myself. Can't I just relax and live as I am? I smiled and said, my dear friend, the day you stop improving, you stop living. Growth is not a one-time event, it is a lifelong journey. Just as your body needs food every day, your mind needs learning, and your soul needs reflection. The moment you think you've arrived, you begin to decline. The most beautiful thing about life is that it never stops teaching. The real question is, will you keep learning? We all are, in truth, a work in progress. None of us are complete. Every day, we are being shaped by our choices, our experiences, and our attitude. Life is a sculpture, and you are both the artist and the clay. Every mistake, every lesson, every challenge you face It's shaping you, molding you, refining you into the person you are meant to be. But this process only works when you're willing to participate in it consciously. Most people let life shape them accidentally. Wise people shape themselves intentionally. To be a work in progress means to wake up every morning and say, I may not be where I want to be yet, but I'm willing to take one step forward today. It's not about perfection, it's about progression. People waste so much time comparing their chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. They forget that growth has its own timing. A seed doesn't bloom on the first day. A child doesn't run before it learns to walk. Similarly, your journey will take time, and that's perfectly okay. The beauty lies in moving forward, no matter how small the step. Sometimes we think improvement means doing something big, like changing our entire lifestyle overnight or adopting grand habits. But true improvement often comes from small, consistent efforts. A small act of kindness, a few minutes of gratitude, a single effort to listen better. These are the real building blocks of self-growth. Over time, these small steps add up and transform you from the inside out. The key is consistency. The ocean is vast not because it rains once, but because it rains again and again. Likewise, you don't grow by changing once, but by improving again and again. You see, life will never stop testing you. Each day comes with its own set of challenges, and every challenge gives you two choices: complain or change. If you choose to complain, you stay the same. If you choose to learn, you grow stronger. People who grow continuously don't have easier lives, they just have stronger minds. They don't pray for fewer problems, they pray for more wisdom. They don't ask for an easier path, they ask for more strength to walk it. To be a work in progress means to be humble enough to know that you can always do better. It's about understanding that there's always something new to learn, someone new to listen to, and some way to be kinder. The world respects experts, but it loves learners, because learners evolve, learners stay fresh, learners stay alive. When you stop learning, life becomes dull, routine, mechanical. But when you approach each day with curiosity, like a child seeing the world for the first time, you begin to notice beauty, meaning and joy in everything around you. And yes, there will be days when you feel tired, days when you fall short of your expectations, days when you feel like giving up. But remember, even a broken crayon can still color beautifully. Being a work in progress doesn't mean you'll never make mistakes. It means you'll never stop trying. Every time you fail, you learn something valuable. Every setback carries a hidden lesson, waiting to make you wiser and stronger. Life's most precious lessons rarely come in comfort, they come wrapped in discomfort. I often say, don't just focus on improving what you do, focus on improving how you think while doing it. You can have the same job, the same routine, the same environment, but with a better attitude, everything changes. The job becomes more meaningful, the routine becomes more purposeful, and the environment becomes more peaceful. When you start looking at your daily life as an opportunity to grow rather than a burden to survive, you begin to live with depth and awareness. Even the smallest experiences hold value. When you wait in traffic, instead of getting angry, practice patience. When someone criticizes you, instead of reacting, practice humility. When life slows you down, Instead of complaining, practice acceptance. These moments are your classroom, and life is the teacher. You don't need to attend a seminar to grow. You just need to be awake to what life is teaching you right now. To be a work in progress is to embrace imperfection gracefully. It's to know that you're not supposed to have it all figured out. You're meant to stumble, to learn, to rise, and to shine again. Some people think being spiritual or successful means being flawless. But real spirituality, real maturity, is the courage to say, I'm still learning. There's power in humility. The ocean is vast because it stays below the rivers. The more you learn, the humbler you become. When you see yourself as a work in progress, you stop judging others harshly. You start seeing everyone else as a work in progress too. You become more compassionate, more understanding, more forgiving. You realize that everyone is fighting their own battles, learning their own lessons, growing in their own way. And that realization makes you kind. So, never be ashamed of your progress, even if it's slow, even if it's messy. You are not behind, you are simply becoming. Every sunrise gives you another chance to grow into the best version of yourself. Every mistake gives you another reason to reflect and rise stronger. Life is not asking you to be perfect. It's asking you to be better than you were yesterday. Because at the end of the day, progress is the true measure of success. You may not have everything you want yet, but if you're learning, if you're improving, if you're becoming more peaceful, more loving, more grateful, you are already succeeding. Be patient with yourself. You are a masterpiece in the making. And the beauty of life is that no matter how many times you fall, you can always begin again. So keep going, keep growing, and keep remembering you are not finished yet. You are a beautiful work in progress. Think about this. Your job can change in a single moment, but who you are, what you've learned, and how you've grown from within, that stays with you forever. You can lose your job, your title, or even your position, but no one can ever take away your values, your wisdom, your character. That's why it's so important to understand that your job is temporary, but you are permanent. The uniform you wear, the chair you sit on, the designation on your visiting card, all of that can vanish in a heartbeat. But the strength of your character, the calmness of your heart, and the clarity of your mind, that's something no one can dismiss. We live in a world that measures success by titles, salaries, and status symbols. But none of these things truly define who you are. If you remove your title, will you still feel valuable? If you take away the recognition, will you still have peace? If the answer is no, then you've been attaching your self-worth to something that's never meant to last. The truth is, your job is just a role you play. It's not your identity. You are far more than your profession. You are the person who brings life into that profession. Imagine an actor performing on stage. He might play a king today, a soldier tomorrow, and a beggar next week. But when the play ends, he takes off his costume, wipes off his makeup, and goes home as himself. The same applies to us. You might be a teacher, a manager, a doctor, or an engineer. But once you step away from that role, you're just a human being with feelings, dreams, fears, and hopes. When we forget this, we start identifying too much with our roles, and the moment life changes the script, we feel lost. So many people panic, when they lose a job or retire, because their identity was tied to what they did, not who they were. They say, I used to be someone. But the truth is, you still are someone with wisdom, experience, and heart. The job was never your identity, it was just your assignment for that time. Life is like a classroom where your job is one of many subjects. You pass from one to the next, but your learning stays with you forever. When you understand that your job is temporary, it gives you freedom. You stop chasing validation from others. You stop trying to prove your worth through achievements. You begin to realize that your true value doesn't depend on a paycheck or a promotion. It depends on how you think, how you treat people, and how you live your life. People can fire you from a job, but they can't fire your honesty. They can take away your title, but they can't take away your integrity. They can replace your position, but they can't replace your goodness. Your job is something you do to earn a living. Yourself is something you build to earn respect, not from the world, but from your own conscience. The most successful people aren't those who have the biggest titles. They're the ones who have the deepest peace. Because peace doesn't come from your profession, it comes from your perception. I once met a man who worked as a janitor at a hospital. He told me, Swamiji, my job may be small, but I do it with big love. Every morning he would smile, greet everyone, and clean the corridors with sincerity. When I asked him why he was always so joyful, he said, because I don't work for the hospital, I work for my happiness. That statement stayed with me. He understood something that many CEOs don't, that your title may describe what you do, but your attitude defines who you are. The world often tells you to work hard to climb higher, but life teaches you to stay grounded no matter how high you climb, because one day you might step down from that ladder, and what will stay with you is not the applause, but the person you became along the way. If you have built yourself with kindness, patience, and humility, you will always stand tall, even without opposition. When your identity is anchored to your character, not your career, you stay peaceful through every storm. Whether life promotes you or pauses you, you remain steady. That's the power of inner strength. People who depend solely on external validation are like balloons. They rise high when filled with praise, but they deflate with the smallest criticism. But people who depend on inner validation are like mountains, strong, unmoved, and silent regardless of the weather. Many people chase security in their jobs, but real security comes from developing yourself. The skills you build, the discipline you cultivate, the attitude you nurture, these are things that no company or crisis can take from you. The world can change overnight, but the person who has developed resilience will always find a way to rebuild. That's why working on yourself is the best insurance for life. If your job defines your value, you'll always live in fear. Fear of losing your position, fear of being replaced, fear of being forgotten. But if your value comes from your character, you live with peace. You're not scared of losing anything because you know you carry something priceless within you. The more you build yourself, the less you depend on external approval. So, even while you work hard in your career, remember that it's just one part of your life, not your whole life. Don't let your business card be the only introduction of who you are. Let your kindness, your smile, and your humility speak louder than your title. Because when people remember you, they won't recall your job designation, they'll recall how you made them feel. At the end of the day, when you retire or move on, your company will replace you, your desk will be cleared, your chair will be given to someone else. But your impact, the way you treated others, the way you lifted people's spirits, the way you stayed honest when no one was watching, that will remain. That's your true legacy. So, my friend, never tie your identity to your job. Let your job be your platform, not your personality. Let it be your opportunity to serve, not your source of self-worth. Work diligently, but hold it lightly. Because your job is temporary, but the person you are becoming, that's forever. Your career may end one day, but your character will carry you through all the seasons of life. And that is the kind of success that no one can ever take away from you. We live in a world where people are constantly chasing financial success. Everyone wants a bigger house, a newer car, a higher salary, and a fancier lifestyle. There's nothing wrong with wanting comfort or working hard to achieve it. But somewhere along the way, we've forgotten something important, that the richest life is not the one filled with luxury, but the one filled with peace. You can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have peace of mind, you will still feel poor. True wealth is not in your bank account, it's in your heart, your thoughts, and your ability to stay calm when life gets chaotic. We've been trained to measure success by how much we have, not by how much we feel. But what is the use of having a full wallet and an empty heart? What is the use of working day and night to earn more if you've lost your smile, your relationships, and your health along the way? People spend their lives chasing external wealth, yet they ignore the treasure that lies within, the wealth of inner peace, contentment, gratitude, and joy. That inner wealth doesn't fluctuate with the economy, doesn't depend on a paycheck, and cannot be stolen by anyone. So many people wake up early, rush through traffic, spend hours in stress, and come home exhausted, only to repeat the same cycle every single day. They earn money, yes, but they lose themselves in the process. They have comfort, but no contentment. They have status, but no stillness. They look happy in photographs, but deep inside there's a silent emptiness that success cannot fill. And that's where the real crisis of life begins. Not financial, but emotional and spiritual. When you start focusing only on outer wealth, you begin to forget the inner riches that actually sustain you. A peaceful mind is a luxury many can't afford, not because it's expensive, but because they've never invested time in developing it. The truth is, peace doesn't come from possessions, it comes from perspective. You can be sitting in a mansion and feel restless, or you can be sitting under a tree and feel fulfilled. It all depends on what's happening inside you. There's a beautiful story about a king who had everything: power, fame, and riches. Yet, he couldn't sleep peacefully at night. So, he went to a wise sage and said, "I have everything, but my mind is never at rest. Teach me how to be peaceful." The sage smiled and handed him a small mirror. He said, "Every morning, look into this mirror until you see your real self." The king did this for many days. At first, he only saw his reflection, his crown, his royal clothes. But after some time, he began to see something deeper: his heart. He realized that peace was never something he could buy, it was something he had to build from within. Inner wealth is built when you learn to balance ambition with appreciation. It's not wrong to desire success, but it's dangerous to desire it so much that you forget to live. Earn, but don't let your earnings own you. Work hard, but don't lose your heart in the process. There's nothing more tragic than reaching the top of the ladder and realizing it was leaning against the wrong wall. When you focus on inner wealth, your attitude toward life changes. You stop comparing yourself to others because you realize that happiness is not a competition. You stop chasing validation because you understand that peace is found in self-acceptance, not public approval. You stop rushing through life because you begin to enjoy the little things: a warm meal, a kind word, a moment of silence. These are the treasures that no market can sell. Gratitude is one of the greatest forms of inner wealth. When you begin to appreciate what you already have, you open the door to abundance. You start realizing that peace is not something that appears when everything goes right. It's something you cultivate even when things go wrong. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing to what's meaningful. It makes you realize that even on the toughest days, life still gives you countless reasons to smile. And let's not forget, inner wealth also means emotional maturity. It means knowing how to stay calm when others lose their temper. It means choosing kindness over ego. It means forgiving not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Every time you let go of anger, every time you choose love over resentment, you are making a deposit in your account of inner wealth. Over time, this wealth grows and it becomes your shield against life's storms. There are people who have very little materially but live with immense peace. And there are people who have everything yet live with constant anxiety. The difference is not in what they possess, but in what they prioritize. The first one has trained their mind to find joy in simplicity. The second one has trained their mind to find problems in abundance. That's why working on your inner wealth is so important. Because peace doesn't come from adding more things to your life. It comes from removing the chaos from your thoughts. Sometimes people ask, how do I know if I'm truly wealthy on the inside? The answer is simply, see how easily your peace can be disturbed. If one person's comment can ruin your day, if one failure can destroy your self-esteem, if one rejection can break your spirit, then your inner wealth needs strengthening. But if you can stay calm amidst chaos, if you can smile through challenges, and if you can love despite pain, then my friend, you are truly rich. In the end, we all leave behind everything we earn. The house, the car, the money, even the fame, all of it stays here. What remains is the peace you carried, the love you shared, and the kindness you spread. That is the real wealth, invisible to the eyes but deeply felt by the soul. So work on your job, yes, but work harder on your peace. Don't just earn a living, earn serenity. Don't just fill your pockets, fill your heart. Because when you have inner wealth, even a simple life feels luxurious. And when you lack it, even all the riches of the world can't make you feel truly alive. Inner wealth is not built in a bank. It's built in your thoughts, your values, and your daily gratitude. Once you have that, You will realize that you were never poor, you just forgot how rich you already are. In this fast paced world, everyone talks about intelligence, but very few talk about emotional intelligence. We spend years studying in schools, learning facts, formulas, and theories, but no one really teaches us how to handle our emotions, how to stay calm when things go wrong, how to control anger when we feel disrespected, how to remain composed when life tests us again and again. Emotional intelligence is not just a skill, it's an art, a silent strength that makes you graceful even when everything around you feels chaotic. It's what keeps you grounded when success makes you proud, and what lifts you up when failure tries to break you. You may have seen people who are extremely intelligent, academically brilliant, and professionally successful, yet they struggle in relationships, lose their peace easily, or break down under pressure. Why? Because they have mastered knowledge but not themselves. They know how to manage projects, but they don't know how to manage their emotions. And that's where real growth begins. Not when you learn to control the world, but when you learn to control your inner world. Emotional intelligence means having the wisdom to pause before reacting. It means being aware of your emotions instead of being ruled by them. It's easy to be kind when everything is going right, but the real test of your strength is how you behave when everything goes wrong. Anyone can smile in sunshine, but true peace is shown in the storm. Many people think emotional intelligence means suppressing your feelings, but that's not true. It's not about hiding your emotions, it's about understanding them. When you feel angry, instead of letting that anger control you, you ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? What is this emotion trying to teach me? When you feel hurt, you don't lash out. You listen. You allow your emotions to speak, but you don't allow them to steer your actions in the wrong direction. I once met a man who said, Swamiji, I keep losing my temper. I don't want to, but I can't control it. I told him, you don't have to control your anger, you have to understand it. When we understand our emotions, we can transform them. Anger often hides hurt. Jealousy hides insecurity. Fear hides attachment. The moment you understand what lies beneath, you stop reacting blindly. You start healing consciously. Emotional intelligence also means learning to stay calm when others lose theirs. In a heated argument, when someone raises their voice, you don't have to raise yours. If both people shout, no one listens. The one who stays calm is the one who truly leads. A calm mind can see solutions, an angry mind only sees problems. That's why, in every situation, try to be the one who brings peace, not panic. Because when you can stay steady while others shake, you become a source of stability in chaos. There's a quiet power in staying composed. People who master emotional balance are like deep oceans. Calm on the surface, strong beneath. They don't allow every wave to disturb them. They've learned that they cannot control the sea, but they can control their boat. Life will always send waves, challenges, disappointments, unfair situations. But if your boat of awareness is steady, you can sail through anything. Emotional intelligence also teaches you to respond, not react. Reaction is instinctive, response is intentional. When you react, you give your power to the situation. When you respond, you take your power back. Let's say someone criticizes you unfairly. If you react in anger, you hand over your peace to that person. But if you respond with calmness, you show strength. You can't always choose what happens to you, but you can always choose how you respond to it. That's where freedom lies. People often assume that being calm means being weak. But the truth is, it takes immense strength to remain gentle in a rough world. It takes great maturity to walk away from an argument instead of winning it. It takes courage to stay kind to those who aren't kind to you. That's emotional intelligence. The ability to rise above emotions without denying them, to feel deeply but act wisely. When you learn to manage your emotions, you begin to manage your life. You stop depending on others to make you happy. You realize that peace is an inside job. You can't expect others to always behave as you wish. You can only train your mind to stay balanced no matter what they do. This doesn't mean you suppress your emotions. It means you express them with awareness. You learn to communicate with clarity, not chaos. You start listening with empathy, not ego. One of the most beautiful results of emotional intelligence is harmony within yourself and with others. When you are emotionally aware, you understand that everyone is fighting their own battles. You become less judgmental and more compassionate. You forgive more easily because you realize that hurt people hurt others. You start seeing beyond people's actions and into their pain. And that's when relationships begin to heal, because understanding replaces argument and compassion replaces criticism. Emotional intelligence also helps you in success. When you face setbacks, instead of giving up, you bounce back. You don't let failure define you, and you don't let success blind you. You understand that both are just passing phases. This balance keeps you humble in victory and hopeful in defeat. It gives you the power to stay centered when life swings between extremes. It's not how smart you are that defines your peace. It's how emotionally strong you are. The world doesn't need more intelligent minds, it needs more peaceful hearts. Because intelligence builds things, but emotional intelligence sustains them. It builds relationships, teams, families, and inner strength. At the end of the day, no matter how much you achieve, if you lose your peace over every small thing, your success feels incomplete. But if you master emotional balance, even the simplest moments of life feel fulfilling. Because true power is not in controlling others, it's in controlling yourself. So learn to understand your emotions, not fear them. Learn to express without exploding, to care without clinging, to love without losing yourself. When you master this balance, life becomes more peaceful, relationships become more meaningful, and success becomes more graceful. And that's when you realize emotional intelligence isn't about being emotionless, it's about being endlessly aware, endlessly kind, and endlessly human. Gratitude is one of the most powerful qualities that a person can develop, yet it's often the most overlooked. We live in a world where comparison is constant. We look at what others have and forget what we already possess. We chase after things, thinking that happiness lies somewhere in the next promotion, the next purchase, or the next relationship. But the truth is, happiness doesn't come from getting more. It comes from appreciating what's already there. Gratitude transforms ordinary days into blessings, routine jobs into joy, and small things into big reasons to smile. When you start your day with gratitude, everything around you begins to shift. You stop seeing problems as punishments and start seeing them as opportunities to grow. You stop focusing on what's missing and start cherishing what's present. Gratitude doesn't change your circumstances immediately, but it changes the way you see them, and that changes everything. Think about it, two people can experience the exact same situation, yet one feels miserable while the other feels blessed. What's the difference? Their perspective. One complains about the rain, the other thanks the rain for nourishing the earth. One sees a challenge, the other sees a chance. Gratitude doesn't blind you from reality, it gives you the strength to face reality with grace. I once met a young man who told me, "Swamiji, my life is full of problems. I have nothing to be grateful for." I asked him, "Can you see?" He said, "Yes." "Can you hear? Can you walk?" He smiled slightly and said, "Yes" again. I told him, "Then you already have blessings that millions are praying for." Sometimes we take the most valuable things in our life for granted: our health, our family, our ability to breathe freely, to eat, to sleep peacefully, to laugh, to love. Gratitude is simply waking up to how rich you already are. Every morning you open your eyes is a gift. Every person who loves you is a blessing. Every meal you eat, every friend who listens, every lesson you learn, all of it is grace. Yet we often ignore it and run after what's not there. Gratitude reminds you to pause and say, "Thank you." It doesn't mean your life is perfect. It means you choose to see the good even when it's not obvious. When you practice gratitude daily, it slowly rewires your mind. It replaces complaints with calmness, restlessness with contentment, and envy with peace. You begin to notice beauty in simple things: the sound of rain, the smile of a stranger, the comfort of home. Gratitude makes you emotionally rich, even when you don't have everything materially. It's the art of finding joy in what you already have while still working toward what you want. Many people think gratitude is passive, that it makes you complacent. But it's quite the opposite. When you're grateful, you don't become lazy, you become energized. You work with a sense of abundance, not lack. You stop saying, "I have to do this," and start saying, "I get to do this." That one shift in mindset makes your work lighter and your journey brighter. Gratitude doesn't remove your struggles, but it fills your heart with enough strength to face them without bitterness. Gratitude also changes relationships. When you start appreciating people instead of criticizing them, they respond differently. Everyone wants to feel valued. A simple "thank you" can melt tension, heal misunderstandings, and strengthen bonds. The more you focus on what's good in others, the more good you begin to see. When you appreciate your parents for their sacrifices, your friends for their support, your colleagues for their effort, you create an atmosphere of positivity around you. Gratitude is contagious. When you express it, it spreads. In tough times, gratitude becomes your anchor. Life may throw storms at you, but gratitude keeps you steady. It whispers, "This too shall pass," and helps you focus on what's still right when everything seems wrong. You may have lost something, but gratitude reminds you of what remains. You may have failed, but gratitude reminds you of what you've learned. It's a quiet strength that helps you smile through tears and find purpose even in pain. I once visited a hospital and met a man who had lost one leg in an accident. Yet, when I spoke to him, he smiled and said, "At least I still have one leg to walk." That's the power of gratitude. It doesn't deny the pain, it simply refuses to let pain steal your peace. It turns what could be a tragedy into a testimony of strength. Gratitude also deepens your spiritual growth. When you're thankful, you acknowledge that life itself is a gift. You start to see the divine hand behind every moment, behind the people who support you, the lessons that shape you, and even the challenges that refine you. You realize that every event, pleasant or painful, has a purpose. Gratitude helps you trust life more because you know that even the setbacks are setting you up for something greater. When you go to bed at night, instead of counting your worries, count your blessings. Think about the things that went right, the small victories, the smiles, the love you received, the food you ate, the roof above your head. The more you count your blessings, the more blessings seem to appear. Gratitude multiplies what you focus on. In the end, gratitude is not about having everything you want. It's about appreciating everything you have. It's the bridge between scarcity and abundance, between complaint and peace. You may not be able to control everything in life, but you can always control how you perceive it. And when you choose gratitude, life begins to feel lighter, richer, and more meaningful. So every day, take a moment to pause and say thank you, not just for the big miracles, but for the small mercies too. Thank the morning sun for rising, the people who stand by you, the lessons that shape you, and even the challenges that teach you patience. Gratitude turns every moment into a prayer and every experience into a gift. It transforms your mindset, heals your heart, and fills your life with peace. Because when you are grateful, you are never empty.